Hello and welcome to Key Nero Diaries on the 29th of July. I'm hiding from the heat in here. It's 36.1 in the shade. We have a max-min thermometer in the hangar there where the car lives, and it's going to get even warmer still. So what I want to talk about today is a quiet revolution that's going on that makes the EV revolution look really quite sluggish and ultimately could be even more important. In fact, I think it will be. And that's the growth of solar power in the world. Now, a few weeks ago, The Economist did a deep dive on what's happening in the solar industry. And some of the stuff that came out of their studies is really quite incredible. It's been creeping up on us, and we really don't, most people, I certainly didn't understand just how fast things are moving. So to give a bit of background, the photoelectric effect was discovered by a French scientist called Alexander Edmond Becquerel in 1839. He demonstrated it, but he didn't understand how it worked. That took Albert Einstein in 1921, where he worked out what was happening. And there's various equations relating to the energy that gets released from a material when a certain frequency of light hits it. And then in 1954, at Bell Labs in New Jersey, AT&T demonstrated with a small square of silicon power flowing to an electric motor and turning a model of a Ferris wheel around. So that's 1954. So between 1954 and 2000, solar panel production was very, very small. And when you think about the raw material for solar panels, it's highly purified silicon. And it uses the same silicon ingots as its raw material as the electronics industry does. And the electronics industry was obviously a very big industry by the year 2000. And you could say that the solar panels that were being made were sort of getting the offcuts of the electronics industry. And then in the year 2000, Germany really started large-scale rollouts of solar panels. At that point, the price was $6.17 a watt. Now, you can see from the chart here that in 1975, the price was over $100 a watt. And obviously, the electronics industry was only just getting going then. And I think up until about 2004, there were only about half a dozen factories in the whole world that could make silicon to the level of purity required by both the electronics industry and the solar panel industry. But because of Germany subsidizing and promoting solar power, there was for a while a shortage of the silicon ingots. And I remember reading an article in The Economist way back then that the price of silicon ingots had quadrupled, and it was causing the electronics industry a bit of a worry. But of course, all the demand was coming from solar all of a sudden. So of course, where there's demand and there's a lack of supply, capital goes into the breach, and a lot more factories, mostly in China, were built to produce the silicon ingots, which is obviously a highly energy-intensive process. So by the time we get to 2004, so 20 years ago, solar was $4.35 a watt. Now, in 2004, according to this article in The Economist, the entire world put in 1 gigawatt of solar. So when we talk about power in solar terms, we always talk about the peak power. So the panels I put on my roof in 2019 were 300 watt peak each. You never actually get that, of course, but that's just the way it's measured. By 2010, the price had dropped to $2.32, so it halved between 2004 and 2010. and the world was putting in a gigawatt of solar every month. And by 2016, the price had fallen to 63 cents a watt. So it's gone from 4.35 to 2.32 to 63 cents. And by 2016, the world was putting in 1 gigawatt of solar panels every week. And significantly in 2016, solar had reached 1% of all the world's electricity. Now, if you look at a solar panel, as I did when I ordered them online back in 2019 and had them delivered to the house, ready for someone else to install them, I looked at it and said, yeah, that's nice. It's no moving parts, it's just black with some silver lines running around it and some aluminium to frame it and put it in a kind of case. Obviously, it's not that simple. There's an awful lot of technology in a solar panel. But when you compare it to something like a wind turbine, like the huge, great things we've got about a kilometre or more from here, it looks kind of pathetic. And even more so when you can compare it to a hydroelectric dam or to a coal-fired or a nuclear power station. It seems, how can something like that change the world? Well, believe me, folks, it is, because say in 2016 we got to the 1% mark, that's 1% of all the world's electricity coming from solar. And by 2022 we were at 4%. The growth is exponential and there's really no constraints on the growth, unlike other products with lithium. And the other thing with solar is it's not like electric cars, which are kind of a product that have become politicized. There's this idea that governments are forcing us into abandoning our fossil fuel cars and buying electric cars because it's a consumer product. Okay, I bought solar panels, I'm a consumer, but most solar panels are going to energy companies or to business to business sales, where companies want to put them on the roof of their warehouse or office to reduce their energy bills. So, yeah, I mean, there is no real constraint on the demand side. We're not running out of roofs to put panels on, and we're not running out of semi-desert or kind of non-productive farmland or poorly productive farmland to put the panels on. And in fact, in the article, they talk about that there's now 10,000 square kilometres of solar panels in the world, which is half the size of Wales. I don't know why people use the size of Wales as a kind of a measure of all things. I know that we're not going to run out of places to put the panels, and we're certainly not going to run out of the raw materials to make them, which is basically quartz from sand. And there's just no constraint on production. In fact, in the article they say that there are yet more silicon ingot foundries being built in China that will allow us, if it's all converted into solar panels, to produce 7 terawatt hours of panels a year. So where are we going with all this then? Well, solar is just booming, and say there's no constraint. So what it means is that by 2026 we'll be getting more electricity from solar than we do from nuclear. By 2027, following year, we'll be getting more from solar than we are from wind. And remember, it's only a couple of years ago that wind overtook nuclear. Wind is still growing fast. By 2028, solar will overtake hydroelectric power for electricity generation, and by 2030 it will overtake gas. And by 2032, the big one will be coal. We'll be generating more electricity from solar panels than we are from coal. So these humble little panels that you can pick up and move around, I mean, they're awkward, but they're just like big picture frames. Will be the biggest source of electricity on the planet. Now, more interestingly, perhaps, and more significantly, you could argue, is that last year solar got on the board, on the league table board, for the amount of primary energy that the world uses. So when we talk about primary energy, we're not just talking about the amount of electricity we produce, we're talking about all the oil products that we use for transportation. We're talking about all the gas, coal, and everything that's used for heating and cooling and industrial processes. So the entire energy consumption of the world, solar is now on the board at 1%. And they're saying that it's growing so fast that by the mid-2030s, it will be not just the biggest source of electrical energy, but it will be bigger than coal and oil and gas in terms of primary energy. Now, I think that's unbelievable. And if we can achieve that, then it's going to be so much better for the world. We're going to be able to, cut right back on the amount of oil, gas. All the fossil fuels are going to be gradually put out of business by solar panels. And I think it would be quite telling that if we get to 2039, so what's that? That's like 15, 16 years from now. That will be the 200th anniversary of Edmund Becquerel discovering the photoelectric effect. And I think it would be quite something that we reach that point, and his discovery will turn out to be the biggest source of power on Earth, and we will be well on our way to seeing the back of fossil fuel use, which is going to be better for everyone. Also in the article in The Economist, it talks about that while all this growth has been going on in solar, the price of grid-scale batteries has halved in the last 4 years. And of course, there's an awful lot of work going on to store solar energy, not just for 4 or 5 hours, but for several days, or at least through the 24-hour cycle until the sun comes up again. Technologies such as sand batteries, molten salt, all kinds of things are being developed that will allow us to get more out of solar, so that solar becomes effectively a 24-hour source of energy. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. If you can get hold of a copy of the article in The Economist, it's called The Sun Machines, and I think there's a lot more in that article than I've been able to say in this video. Anyway, if you have been, thank you for watching. Until the next time.